But here's to our other top story now. Protests over the planned release of Chris Hani's killer continue. The Tripartite Alliance is demonstrating against Janusz Valus's imminent release on parole. The SACP, COSATU and ANC are marching to the Kgosi Mampuru prison in Pretoria, where Valus is behind bars. He's due to be released tomorrow. Valus was stabbed by a fellow inmate yesterday. Let's go to eNCA reporter Buleli Chwiti-Jones. We find him in the capital with the Tripartite Alliance. Bule, I see the crowd there is swelling up. I wonder if you've been able to get any reaction from leaders there about yesterday's very, unfortunate developments from inside Kgosi Mampuru.
Yeah, definitely, Masego. In fact, in the morning, we spoke to the ANC chairperson, Panyaza Lesufi. From there onwards, we spoke to the SACP leader, Solema Paila, as well, who basically shared their views around that parole and the release of Janusz Valus, who's due to be released on parole tomorrow. However, this process being hampered by the fact that today comes just a day or a few hours after we learned that Mr. Valus was, of course, allegedly stabbed by a housing inmate at the correctional services and therefore being rushed to hospital where we believe he's in a stable condition. But the message is quite clear. The Tripartite Alliance is saying that they are going to oppose this move to have Valus be released on parole by approaching the courts. We understand they are currently with their legal team in terms of finding the correct ways as to how they can interject this process and ensure that this whole move of having Valus released on parole isn't on good faith and that the process is delayed once again.
And Bule, in terms of the ordinary people that are joining the Tripartite Alliance there today, besides the leadership like your Panyaza Lesufi, etc., how do they feel about what happened yesterday? We saw a lot of reaction on social media from ordinary South Africans about Valus's stabbing yesterday. But what are ordinary people there on the ground with you telling you about, what happened yesterday?
Oh, definitely. Just ordinary people here are sharing the same views as the ANC and the Tripartite Alliance, and they're saying that they are with what the national leadership is saying about this. But I'm just going to speak to Umam Nomvulam. Thank you very much for joining us. If you're late, no,
I saw you as you were walking.
Thank you. You are with the Tripartite Alliance as well. Some of the comrades from SACP and COSATU. What's the message today?
The message today is about the demand for an inquest on the killing of Chris Hani, because the truth has not yet been revealed. Secondly, it's in solidarity with the family of Chris Hani as victims, who we believe that there should have also been a victim perpetrator facilitation process that affords the victim's family to understand the reasons behind the decisions that have been taken. Also, it's to condemn what has happened at the gravesite and in some parts, such as in Krugersdorp, where you see other elements of racists that live in our country trying to take us back. We want to defend our hard-won democracy, and reconciliation has to come from all sides.
Vela, Umam Dimpo was very torn apart with the decision that was taken from the Constitutional Court on the unanimous decision to have Mr. Valus released on parole, and she came across as very emotional and heartbroken. But most importantly, what we understand is that Mr. Valus is due to be released on parole tomorrow. However, we understand as well that he was stabbed in prison as well. What's your remark on that? What's your reaction on that?
Well, we had, just like anyone, that was stabbed in prison yesterday after having spent all these years in prison. But then we take what Correctional Services has said, and one of the things that we also have to deal with is to say we understand where our Dimpo comes from. Comrade Dimpo has every reason to react in that particular manner, because, as I've said, just like in any other parolee process, there must be a victim and perpetrator kind of facilitation so that you prepare even the victim of the eventual pronouncement, and that has not actually happened. We've also made a reflection on our own pieces of law, laws that necessitated and justified this release. And hence, going to the conference itself is to look at some of the laws that create these kind of challenges, because there might also be a precedent on all other cases where a parolee, upon just being a criminal, upon just being convicted, will immediately from day one have a countdown of being granted a parole. It is those things that we need to look at, because it's a precedent that may take us back as a country.
When you speak about going to conference, you think you may also need to speak to other parties, because these are some of the decisions that may need to be discussed robustly and particularly, if ever, amended in Parliament as well, but with the support of other parties.
Of course, our ANC caucus has already come out, even today, that there must be a snap debate in Parliament and also review of legislation, which is, again, a responsibility of Parliament and talking to different parties. We've seen other parties also speaking out on this matter, and we are quite humbled that there are many parties that also have taken a stance on this matter.
The SACP says they will be seeking different avenues to challenge the parole of Mr. Walus. Do you support them?
Yes, the ANC itself in the last NWC got a briefing even from our own comrade Jeff Hadebe about processes of even going to the AU's Court of Human Rights and Justice to deal with this matter, so that then it is just not left at the stage where it is. We need... Chris Hani died for this freedom. The date of our election was accelerated through his blood. And he was an internationalist. He loved life. He was a person who wanted peace and justice, and hence we do believe that it is a correct path, and the SACP is on the right path, together with the work that Comrade Jeff is now being assigned to do.
I mean, they've come out scathing, criticizing the judiciary as well, to say that Mr. Walus was not supposed to be released on parole, even though we do understand, and as according to his lawyer, that he was eligible for parole.
That's exactly what I'm saying, that there are gaps in our system. You can't say because he was teaching people karate and that he was quiet in prison, therefore he qualifies. The killing of Chris Hani was something that required intense engagement, robust engagement, so that we understand that other than Clive Debbie Lewis and Walus, who was behind this and why did it happen? To say because he was a communist, we need to get more than that.
So seeking for answers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Umam Nomvula Mkonyane joining us right now. Maybe let me just speak to some of the people who are here in a bit. Kopa little tell us why you're here today and let's join le babang ba ANC le SACP le Khosat.
Okay, we are here today, ne? I don't get that guy out of Toronto. Walus must just stay behind bars, because he robbed us a hero. Chris Hani was our hero. Nakana fellow family here know they are ahead as much as we are ahead. You understand? So he must just stay behind bars.
We are distributing to say to the whole nation, it shows black people can come in their numbers to show there's a democracy. In this moment, release a person who made that a Chris Hani. It was during apartheid. So this is a scar to say, no, enough is enough. We cannot allow such a person to roam around and say he's in a good behavior. So they're taking us back to apartheid eras. A lot has happened. People had killed people. They're still in jail. So what is special about this guy? So we are feeling that the system has failed the South Africans, especially us as young coming leaders in the organization. Yeah, but it was supposed to be a debate. Remember, Chris Hani is one person who fought for the blacks. So the Hanabanung ANC is more struggling because we are not uniting, and we believe that if the system was created to protect black people, we are not supposed to be here. Because justice needs to be served. It's a remember. But also there is no change in South Africa. So it's a situation whereby a hang pile must come back.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Those are some of the supporters who've rallied behind the Tripartite Alliance this afternoon, Masego. Well, twisted views, I can tell you. Some believe that Mr. Janusz Walus should remain in prison and that the parole decision to have him released be revoked, while his lawyer argues that he's been eligible for parole for quite some time and that the law says he should be granted that parole decision or move rather to have him released. And of course this comes just a day after he was allegedly stabbed in prison by his housing inmate, and he is currently receiving medical attention. From here onwards we will be marching to the correctional services, where I will be giving you an update as to what will be transpiring from that particular venue about 15 minutes from here.